Sup guys, Trash Toku here. Let's talk about Fuutopia's final episode. Now, for the final time, let's count your scenes. We see Tokime and the grandfather running away from their enemies to exit the city. When the grandfather stops to catch his breath, Tomike tells him that she wants to make his granddaughter's wish come true. He explains to Tomike why he even actually chased the reactor dopant. He tells her about an order that he got from a foreign company, that the thing that he ended up building for them was a weapon for a guerrilla army in the Middle East. And ever since then, he felt guilty about it. So he decided to follow the reactor dopant to see if his work would get to the wrong hands. When they both arrive, he starts following him to a room that inside it there was something that looked like a small nuclear reactor. So when the reactor dopant opened up a portal, he jumped after him. Tomike tells him that they can't give in to pests like them and it's time to give them the payback they deserve. So they start running until they see two men walking down a dark alleyway. They see one of them pulling out a black passport. A portal opens up and Tomike and the grandfather jump back to the regular Fuuto when they watch the reactor dopant's user coming out of the small nuclear reactor device. When the two suited men apologize to the reactor dopant that they couldn't find Tomike and the grandfather, he tells them that it doesn't matter because they are already here, and he proceeded to use his eye lasers. So this is one of the things that he can do as a high dopant. It causes a major buildup of thermal energy in his body when he transforms, and it doesn't go away, and the device that's in the room is actually for cooling him down to a level that helped the living reactor that he became from melting down. He starts walking towards them, and when he shoots his eye lasers at the grandfather, Tomike comes in and shields him. But the extreme memory saved them both. Shotaro and Philip arrives to the place. Shotaro congratulates Tomike on protecting the grandfather. When the reactor dopant asks them about how they found out about the place, Shotaro shows them the prototype valve. Philip starts explaining what he discovered about it. It was made for the reactor dopant, and after looking at the characteristic of the reactor memory and him discovering that he needs a cooldown, he needed to compute the unique electromagnetic frequency that device would give, and they found the place with the help of the spider shocker memory gadget. The reactor dopant asked them how did they know it's going to be in regular Fuuto. Philip deduces that device can't be in Shadow Fuuto because of his personality. He wouldn't allow it because of his behavior suggests a great deal of loyalty to Bendo, and in order to gain Bendo's respect, he was attempting to deal with the ridiculous amount of heat that the memory produces in his body, and he wouldn't leave the means for him to deal with it on Bendo's lap. Philip believes that he is the personification of imperfection. Before the reactor dopant get to transform, Ryu comes in with the Gunner A to topple over the cooling device. The reactor dopant transforms alongside with the two road dopant. Shotaro and Philip transforms to Kamen Rider Double Extreme, parrying the reactor's attack. They start fighting the reactor dopant, and Axel shoots the two road dopant and tells Tomike to take the grandfather outside. Double's fight with the reactor dopant goes outside of the building. Philip tells Shotaro that he required everything about the memory. Dopant gets angry and starts charging up for one big last shot. Philip tells Shotaro to use the trigger memory as a base and then loads all of his memory into the prism beaker to fire a beam that would exceed his thermal energy. But the reactor dopant takes and grabs Tomike over his head, and he tells Double to drop their weapons. Philip asks Shotaro what should they do. Shotaro answers that if they would wait, Tomike would die from the heat, so they need to find another attack that would close in the gap. They remember their fight with the Utopia dopant, so they decide to throw the prism beaker, and they use the prism memory in the maximum drive slot to activate the Prism Maximum Drive alongside with the Extreme Maximum Drive to free Tomike and Rider Kick the Reactor Dopant to finish him off. We catch up to the end of the fight between the two Road Dopants and Axel using the Engine Maximum Drive to finish both of the Road Dopants off. They both get up and one of them pulls out the same black passport to open up a portal to Shadow Fuuto. Philip shouts at the rest of the team that they need to steal the passport from them, but the Reactor Dopant somehow survived the explosion. He grabs the two men and starts burning them, even after his memory broke, because he's actually using his own powers. His last action is exploding to close the path to Shadow Fuuto. We see the portal closes, but in the city, the Aurora Dopant is carrying the Reactor Dopant in his hands. He tells them that he is saddened to lose someone like him, and the Reactor Dopant's last words are that he wanted to be a superhuman like him. The Brachiosaurus kid comes in and apologizes to Bando about not being able to capture Tomike, but Bando tells him that she is particularly his fault and they now need to underscore the necessity of avoiding interacting with the Kamen Riders. They need to accomplish their goals quietly, undetected. In the agency, we see Shotaro closing the case. The grandfather gets united with his family. The grandfather even promises Shotaro to not tell anyone about him and his partner being Kamen Riders. In the garage, Philip shows them that Tomike's memories restoration is almost complete. The only thing that he needed is to attach an external power source to make up for the damages. Because of that, it cannot be inserted to a body. So right now, the only thing they can do is to activate it. And if Tomike ever used it, an activation port should appear on her body. Philip activates the memory, but there is no activation port anywhere on her body. They start questioning if she isn't the user, who is. She remembers what the Brachiosaurus kid told her about Shadow Fuuto being her home. Philip starts telling them that he looked through the Gaia library for Bando's book, and when he found it, he started looking through it. Philip discovers that Bando was the CEO of Kai Operation, a company that would nurture talented individuals, sending them to a society. But the company was involved in a number of utopian strategies centering on its members. We discovered that this company was the parent organization of Foundation X. Philip continues to tell them that in Bando's book, after the chapter that he left the company, the book became blank. After that point, there is no records of him. That means that somehow he gained the ability of literally leaving this world. Hence Shadow Fuuto not being a part of Double's world. Tomike asks from Akiko to tell her about everything from Museum, Foundation X, and the Gaia memories. She knows she has a connection with Shadow Fuuto and she wants to discover it no matter what. Tomike asks from all of them how Double started fighting. Shotaro, the only person that can actually answer that question, turns around, understanding that this question is actually the hardest to answer because what happened that night. Shotaro agrees to tell her later that night, and he starts telling her the story of beginning night to not only end this episode, to end season 1 of Fuuto PI. What a great episode overall. What a perfect way to kind of cap off season 1. I genuinely enjoyed it, from discovering what the hell is going on with the valve that the grandfather created, to the fight between Double and the Reactor Dopant, actually getting the characterization of Bando, because you see he actually does care about his comrade. You can actually see it. He's actually saddened losing the Reactor Dopant. You actually can see him when he holds him, he's on his knees. So that means he actually has some sort of a deep connection with all of the dopants. Learning that he was a CEO of another organization that somehow created Foundation X is really cool. Again, it's a lot more than what we actually got in the series. And having the conclusion of the mystery of Tomike's Gaia memory not being even her own is actually opening up to something a lot more interesting of who is actually the user of that memory. And having that really great moment when Shotaro needs to turn around when Tomike asks him to talk about Beginnings Night is really beautiful, and it shows how much it's actually really faithful to the original series, because this is how Shotaro would actually act. He would turn around, he would start monologuing about how much this is the hardest question that he needs to answer. Everything about this episode really shows how good this series was, and even the really cool little shots that we got recreating Beginnings Night. Actually seeing a drawn version of Kamerada's skull is actually really fucking cool, and I actually want to see it fully animated because this looks fucking fantastic. So thank you Fuuto PI for 12 amazing episodes, for more season to come. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm going to cover Fuuto PI as a series overall next week, and then I would see how Black Sun is going to get released, if it's going to be all 10 episodes at the same time or it's going to be a weekly release series. And if not, I would probably maybe add Dawn Brothers into the schedule because I really want to fill it up, because Fuuto PI really came to me at the right moment in beginning of my channel. So yeah, I really want to thank you all for watching this video, watching each and every review that I did of Fuuto PI. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Have a nice one.